episode, we're going to be talking about the results from the Makers Faire Orlando Combat Robotics Competition and damage report on Junkyard Dog Jr. So, let's get on to it. My first fight at Makers Faire Orlando was with a robot called Construction Ahead, and he's an all-wood robot with a vertical spinner. And I felt good about fighting a wooden robot, being my first ever fight, but he does have a good vertical spinner on it, so I was nervous about that. But once the match started, his vertical spinner never spun up. He was having some kind of issue with it, which worked well for me because my spinner worked fine for the match, and I was able to make a whole bunch of toothpicks and actually win that first fight. And you can see for yourself, so here's the first fight. My second battle was with a robot named Thundersnow, and he was just a articulating wedge, looked like mostly plastic construction, which I felt pretty good about this fight too. But at the end of my battle with Construction Ahead, I used a urethane belt and it happened to just snap in half. So I decided that I would put a smaller belt with my larger urethane belt before this fight, so in case the larger one snapped, I could still show movement and still have somewhat of a weapon. Well, that did not go so well for me because on the very first weapon spin up, the small belt slipped underneath the larger belt, which provided all the torque, and kicked it right off. So I had to go this entire fight with no weapon and wasn't able to inflict any damage whatsoever. And not being a push bot, I just got pushed all over the place and ended up losing that fight. So here's that fight.
Junkyard Dog started with a vertical spinner. I thought he used Thundersnow to get the red bot, but sometimes the red bot is exactly what a vertical spinner does not want to see. These two robots appear to be entangled pretty quickly. I'm not sure if that's voluntary or not. We'll have to see. Alright. Good match in 3, 2, 1, fight robots! try to tap underneath the wall there. And they're lining up. Robots are just done again. Short ball. Travis, can you separate? Oh, apparently they can. Oh, and interesting development. The new junkyard dog is stuck. Count it. 10, 9, 8. Oh, and it's free again. With just under 15 seconds left in this one. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and
Now my third fight was against another wedge bot. His name was Clown Fiesta. And this robot was all metal construction, extremely fast, and had a lot of torque. And of course, first hit right out the gate in the fight, my belt snapped. And I just didn't have anything for this guy at that point because he could just push me around and shove me around and do what he wanted with me. And that was another loss. So check this one out. My fourth fight, that was against a robot built by a college team named Themis, and he had a extremely, looked like ratty looking bar spinner on the front, had PVC spacers and stuff on it, so I underestimated this fight, and I shouldn't have, because once again, belt issues, lost my weapon, and didn't have anything for this guy at that point. I guess my fight's all weapon or nothing, because I just didn't have the traction that it seemed like the other robots were getting, and that just comes down to experience. So next time I'm sure that I'm going to have a lot better traction than I had this time. But he just had a bar spinner, very unbalanced, made a lot of noise, but it was effective because he got on you with the thing, and it didn't do a lot of damage, but over time it caused some damage, and he just beat you and beat you and beat you with that thing, and which was a good job on their part. So if you want to check it out, here's that fight. Okay, so with an overall record of 1-3, which my first fight ever to get a win was great, but to lose the next 3 kind of sucked, but it was to be expected. I mean, I had an all-aluminum robot with people with titanium and much more experience than me, and you know, Junkyard Dog Jr. will be a lot better for the next match. But what was fun is we decided to put together a 15-pound robot class rumble, and we ended up getting 5 or 6 robots to join in. So we all got in the arena at the same time, and probably the most damaging bot there was named Animosity. This guy's been fighting combat robots since 2000, 2001, and he just had a really deadly horizontal spinner. It's a lot like Tombstone. And so me, being me, I decided, well, I'm going to try to take the big dog down, and that's who I went after, and that did not go well at all. He did a lot of damage to my robot, and ended up ending my match by cutting my receiver right in half. I had it too far in the front of my bot, so that ended all control for me. But on a good note, the belt didn't come off that match, so I was able to deliver some hits and have a little bit of fun before I got wiped out. So you can check out that rumble right here. Alright, now that you've seen the fights, I'm going to turn the camera to the robot itself and kind of take it apart and show you guys the damage that different robots did to me. So, let's look at it. Alright, if you look on the front, this is just a housing right here that basically protects my pulley and helps hold my bearing assembly in. And I got one little ding right here from my first fight. That came from Construction Ahead for this vertical bar. Now if he could have actually spun that thing up to full speed, he might have actually bent this aluminum in enough to stop my pulley altogether. And then we'll go on to this one, and the college team, I think the robot's name was Themis. They had Greek names for their robots. Just abrasions like this and little chew marks like this. He didn't do a lot of damage, but he just beat on me the whole time, and really didn't cause a lot of damage, but he showed more aggression to me because I didn't have a weapon, and he was able to push me around some. So that's how I lose a fight, and that's how he wins the fight. Now we're going to talk about my brawl with the Animosity, which, you know, this was all about research and development. I needed to see what the best could do, so I know how to build for next time, and I certainly found out. I guess I went on a vertical bar against a horizontal bar. Well, my little vertical bar didn't compare it to the size of his blade. His blade probably weighed at least 3 pounds, maybe even 5 pounds, compared to this maybe 1 pound bar here. And if you've noticed, it's got a nice little concave shape in it now, and it's got some serious chunks taken out of it, and this is solid stainless steel, so he was delivering some pretty good hits. My front aluminum wedge here, you can see where he just cut clean through it right here and just rolled this whole side up. If I lift this up, you can see over here where he was just beating on this front plate right here and rolled it out and actually caved in this whole side, but I'll show you more of that when I pull the cover off. And then on this side, if you flip up this wedge, you can see pretty good dent marks and poundings on here. Now on my weapon, as you can see up here, how this is nice and straight. I use this to hold my bar off the ground so it's not bouncing off the floor. And when he came under the front of me, you can see what he did to this front plate here. He just completely twisted it and cut a big giant chunk out of it. And that's not super thick aluminum, but it's like 3/8 aluminum. So it's pretty tough, but like I said, I knew it was going to get beat up. But that's what I needed to see so I could prepare for next time. So I'm going to go ahead and pull the top off and have a look on the inside. Now on this side right here, this used to be attached right here, and he just hit this so hard it just ripped it completely, popped all the rivets out, folded it over, and that's when he hit my radio receiver here and just cut it right in half, and that's what took me out of the fight. And then if you look on this side here where he came under the front, like I said, this all used to be nice and flat, and he just cut, and you can see a good 1.25 inches or so in here and just rolled this whole piece underneath the robot, which is pretty cool, I think. It sucks that my little robot got beat up so bad, but like I said, you gotta learn somewhere. And then he got underneath me, chopped my wheel up, ripped the rubber off the wheel, kind of messed that up a little bit. So even if the radio hadn't been ripped apart, with this wheel hanging off like that, I would have just been sitting there doing circles anyway. So now I know I need either thicker aluminum or a stronger metal, which a lot of people use titanium, but that's extremely expensive. One day I'll invest that, but for now I'm just gonna keep it realistic and see how things go. But that's pretty much it for the damage report. My battery was held nice and safe in my little 3D printed box. I didn't have any damage whatsoever with speed controls or the weapon speed control or weapon motor, drive motors. All that held up through the entire match, which I've heard some bad things about the Harbor Freight drill motors, that they don't last or hold up, but like I said, I got knocked around pretty good and had 5 fights, and I had no mechanical or electrical issues except for my receiver getting cut in half. So anyway, that's the current status of Junkyard Dog Jr. Well, that's going to be it as far as my damage report on Junkyard Dog Jr. He got pretty much wasted, but he is repairable. And a hammer and some more screws and a little bit of work would fix up and have him ready in no time. As far as my first combat robotics competition went, you'll never, if it's something you're interested in, you should definitely get into it. These guys are an extremely tight-knit group of guys and girls. I mean, they're very friendly. They treat you like family right out the door. You know, people, if their robot was down, they would pull parts off their robot to get yours back going. And that's just how welcoming and embracing they are. So it's a really good experience. It's a good family fun, and I would recommend it to anybody who would want to try it out. I mean, if you're nervous about not knowing something or what's going to happen, or are people going to laugh at you, or I can't compete with this robot or that robot. It's really not about that. It's more about the experience, and the people are going to help you and give you advice. They're not going to poke fun at you. So get in your garage and start building your robot. Look on the web pages, find out when the next local event is, and just go for it. You'll definitely have fun. So until next time, thank you for watching. Bye.